Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Recently Retired episode 2, where we're going to talk about leadership. We're so excited to finally get, into the topics and talking about how leadership has affected us and how we've kind of impacted, people in our lives as being leaders.
Yeah, we just kind of want to explore what leadership means to us and kind of how we got into wanting to be leaders and how leaders have affected us and all that.
Yeah, definitely. Also, heads up, we are super giggly today for no reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be really important for the listeners who, are becoming leaders, who want to be leaders, are looking up to leaders of what to look for in a leader and what qualities you want when you are developing into a leadership position or role.
Yeah. And we've definitely both gone through positive experiences with leadership and negative experiences. And we've also done things that we don't think was good, I guess.
Yeah,
or we don't think was
we did
leadership.
It the right way.
Yeah, we didn't do it the right way, but there's also things that we're proud of, so we just kind of want to go through all of that.
Yeah, and we always say, if you guys have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out to either of us and ask them. But let's kind of dive into it. How would you define leadership and how has it been in your life?
Yeah. I would define leadership as just someone who puts others before themselves and someone who is just working super hard for the greater good, even if it's just one person, and someone who just wants to help others and make other people better around them. I feel like that's a very broad answer, but I feel like that's just how it's been described to me and what I've seen as leadership in my childhood and just everything. I've had such amazing people to look up to, and even if it's the littlest things, it's just someone who was trying to help someone else and who was there for them, I guess. So, Tori, how would you define leadership?
Yeah, no, I think you put it pretty perfectly. I feel like in a lot of the cases in my experiences, it's been just somebody who leads by example. So whether that's guiding just one person, whether they kind of pick somebody out who might be struggling and try to show them the ropes or anything like that. But I also think it's leading by example. So doing things that you would expect others to do or follow in your footsteps. So making the right decisions, making the right choices, and then just kind of being a strong presence, I think is huge in being a leader. Being confident in yourself is a huge part in being a leader because people aren't going to trust you or follow you if you're not confident in yourself.
Definitely.
So I feel like that's the kind of way I would put leadership. And again, how I've seen it in my life and the leaders that I've looked up to most are very secure in themselves and know that, or at least they appear sure of themselves. Obviously we don't know what other people are going through, but I think that's a good way that I would put leadership for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. So looking back at our childhood, who was a leader that really resonated with you or something that kind of showed you what you wanted to be, or someone now you're looking back on that inspired you to be a leader?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in my childhood, again, you always look up to your parents, but as we grew up in the soccer world, I'm not sure if, people listening who played USU soccer knew about the age split that happened, but it was girls who were playing 01 and 00. So if you were born 2001 and 2000, you were playing on the same team because the August date was the cutoff. So the birthdays were that. And then all of a sudden when we were sophomores, they changed it to December. So all those girls who were born in 2000 had to go up and all the 2000s had to either stay that age or go down. And we had to combine teams. So we had a new coach come in and take 2 teams into one. And so her name is Taylor Schramm. She's a head coach at Dartmouth. And she had to kind of combine us, and we did not want to be combined. We did not like each other whatsoever. And as a leader, she had to bring 2 teenage girls at the peak of all her hormones and everything and combine into a really powerful, impactful team. And I think she did that in such a good way by altering her leadership style to each individual player, which I think was so amazing. And I, aspire to be when I maybe go into coaching one day. It's just be able to adjust to different players and to, again, lead by example because she had such a confidence about her and she had such an amazing career in soccer as well. So obviously we looked up to her playing wise, but I think just as a person too, she was kind. She held herself with poise and confidence and spoke from the heart and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I just feel with Taylor, Tori said, she had such a great career in soccer, but it's that doesn't always have to be the way it is. Like when you're a leader, like you don't have to be like super talented or anything in your field, but like you just have like this level of respect and admiration for, like if someone's telling you to do something, but you know they're doing it or did it so like so good and so hard and put so much time and energy into it, then you're like, okay. But you know, like at least my experience, like in leadership, like if I'm as a captain, if I was telling someone to do something but wasn't doing myself, like that's just where there's a huge disconnect in leadership. I feel
because it means nothing. Like, I'm not going to listen to you if you're not going to do it, but you're going to tell me to do it. Like that's kind of pointless. So
yeah,
I agree. Like, is there? Yeah, and then is there a different role model that you have from me?
What?
Like, do you have a role model who like you looked up to as a leader that was different than Taylor growing up?
Yeah, I mean, like Tori said, we had a bunch, but I guess like both of our parents, like they both worked full-time jobs and raised 4 kids under the age of 4. Like, no thank you. But like, I don't know, I just have such admiration for them, and they really taught us how to like be kind, work hard, and if we ever came home and we're like, this isn't fair, they were just like, is what it is, like work harder, be better. And also just like they always put us before them. Like my mom didn't buy herself a single thing for however many years, like 18, 20, just so she could give us everything that we wanted. And I think, you know, again, that just goes with like putting other people before yourself. And
no, I think they did a really good job of leading us by not kind of just giving us praise and telling us we were God's gift to the world. Because we were very talented at a young age. And obviously, like, that can go to kids' heads super quickly. And our parents never did that. They allowed us to, you know, it was our job to be passionate about soccer. It wasn't theirs. And a leader doesn't force passion on somebody. They instill it in them. And I think that's what they did by instilling, like, you know, the meaningful relationships that soccer is going to bring you and the meaningful connections and the leadership patterns that you're going to learn and things like that. But they never kind of forced it on us. And, you know, when one of us was kind of struggling, like I know our brother Parker, like wasn't great when he was younger. He had to work really hard, and they never once were like, it's not your fault, bud, like the coach is wrong. They were like, you got to work hard every single day, and that's the way that, you know, the world works. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then you're not going to see the results.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that was a good way to lead and parent us kids going forward.
Yeah, and just like acknowledging the fact that if we wanted to do it, we were gonna. Like there were so many times that they were like, all right, are you guys done? Like, you want to try something new? Like, we don't need to be traveling all over the country spending every single cent we have. But, like, we never said no. Like, that's all we ever wanted. And so they made that happen for us. But they never once, like, pushed us, like, you have to go to practice. It was like, if you don't want to go, don't go. And we always did. But it was always, like, our choice, which I think was the reason we all wanted to play Division I and we all went Division I, was because, like, we loved it. And we never felt, like, that pressure. And it was always an option to quit. Like it was always there to be like, if you don't want this, you don't have to. But I think the problem with so many leaders and some that we've like encountered is like, no, it's this way or that way. Like there's no option, there's no escape. But in reality, like there always is. And I feel like we felt that from such a young age, which has been so helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I think growing into college too, I had some amazing leaders, like my athletic trainer, Kara, going through my 2 ACLs. Like she did not allow me to kind of slack off, and she was a heavy-handed leader, which I really appreciated. And, you know, she did so much in her own life. She's done so many Ironmans. She beat cancer, and she's just an amazing person, an amazing role model and leader. And again, she always leads with kindness, and I think it's so important.
Even throwing a shoe at you?
Yeah, she did chuck a shoe at my head. She always leads conversations with people outside of her athletes with kindness. So, but no, I love that she was always there for me. And like certain times when, you know, our head coach or teammates would kind of make comments that, you know, they just maybe weren't thinking that I was in a rough spot mentally. They kind of were just like, I wish I was injured, or like he would be like, you know, just comments like that. And I, you know, they weren't thinking like Tori's going to be super upset at this, but Kara would always kind of let me just be sad and say life sucks right now and that's okay. Even when she was going through stuff in her life, like she gave me that space to just be like, that sucks. So I think that's another thing for leaders. Like giving your either players or teammates or coworkers or friends like space to just feel things. And I think a leader can sit there with them and not try to pull them out of it, but guide them and like lead them out of it instead of being like, stop crying or let's fix this right now, but just holding space for them to, feel crappy.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like a lot of it also comes to like accountability. Like if you ever did something wrong, or like if a leader did something wrong, like being able to acknowledge that and try to move forward from it instead of just like sitting in it and being like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's a fine line, I feel like.
Yeah. And I just feel like adding on to like the safe space and just like, but I feel like when you're accountable for your actions, like you're giving that person a safe space to know that like, I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, like it's okay if things are wrong. Like that is already going to create that safe space instead of just being like this way or that way type thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No.
So
okay. I feel like we were both, leaders throughout our careers, but you obviously were a captain for a majority of college and high school too. Like, what was your favorite part of being a leader? Like, what was a memory that you have that you were like, this was amazing experience as a leader for me?
There's been like so many, honestly.
Such a good leader.
Thanks, guys. I don't know, like so much, but I feel like one that comes to mind. There's just I don't know. There's a lot.
There's so many, guys. I can't think of any.
Like, not like specifics, but I guess just like helping a teammate and making them feel comfortable, creating that safe space. Like, our Binghamton team, they just made it to the semifinals and the quarterfinals. They won in PKs, and our goalie, Becca, she had 4 saves, like unreal, just crazy, like so proud of her. But I texted her and was just like, I'm so proud of you, like so unbelievable. And she was just like, thanks, that means so much coming from you. And it's just like makes me feel good that people like, I don't know, like take my word seriously and like respect that. And I think after, being a captain for 3 years and like working on it so much and trying to be there for everyone, I guess just the little things, or like when someone would text me after a season and be like, you were the reason that I did so many good things this year, you're the reason I got through this week, things like that would 100% be like the best part. Not even just the best part about being a leader, but the best part of like college soccer for me. Like I loved being a leader so much. That was, anytime I look back, like I don't care about wins, losses, accolades, like it was making an impact on others.
But she did have so many accolades.
Yeah, like my back hurts.
No, yeah, that has to be an amazing feeling. And I think even though I wasn't a captain, I had experiences with leadership in my own way, just as you get older, as an upperclassman and stuff like that. And I feel like leading by example was a huge role for me for, going through my 2 ACL surgeries, just being able to give girls who tore their ACL behind me, like, I can do this. Like, I can do this. I can come back. And even other injuries, like, they kind of saw me come back and go through the process. And I feel like I tried to hold space for them to be like, it is an ugly battle to come back, but it's so worth it. And just giving them that space to be like, there's going to be setbacks and you're going to be pissed off at doctors and coaches and teammates and trainers. But showing them like you can do it and you can come back was such a big part of, I think, my legacy in quotes at Binghamton. I couldn't think, lack of a better word.
Legacy.
I can't even like think of a word to say it, like my experience there, but like what I kind of left at Binghamton. And then I also just appreciated like in the warm-up lines before games, whoever was in my line, like I just tried to make them feel so comfortable, like goofing around and like racing Grace, who was next to me in line, like just dumb stuff. But I feel like it kind of eased the tension. And I feel like, again, most people think of leaders as the captain who's serious and pulls everybody together and gets focused. But I feel like there's other little leaders who, ease the tension and make a joke and like laugh and just kind of get everybody like, calming their nerves down. So I think those were 2 of my favorite like memories of, being a leader in some semblance without the captain armband, say.
Yeah. And I think like another example for like just trying to be like the best leaders that we could is when we like tried to get everyone to be able to travel.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So basically freshman year, like we had of college, we had a roster. I think it was 20 people traveled and we had 27 girls on our team. So like injured people didn't travel, and then like people who say there was 4 injured, then 3 other girls who weren't injured also couldn't travel with the team. And so me and Tori like what was it, summer after COVID, because COVID, all the rules were different anyways, which was our
so it was
sophomore
going into
year.
our junior year.
So going into our junior year, like everything, rules were back to normal and everything like that. So I just remember like calling Neil and just being like, you know, we
were literally in Maui, Hawaii, like on vacation, but this was so important to us. We just felt like so strongly about it. So like, continue in a second, but if you ever feel like you have to like go above and beyond or fight for something, like do it. If you feel so strongly that you need to talk to like somebody higher, like above, like a coach or an administrator or a trainer, like do it if that's what something you feel passionate about.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, basically whatever, we were just like, we really think it's so important for our whole team to be able to travel, like having so many more people on the bench and just like having everyone included, because when you're not home, like you're seeing Snapchats, like you're just not, you just don't feel like you're part of the team. Whereas like
it sucks.
we didn't need like one bed for each person. Like someone could share a bed. So that's what kind of we were explaining to him and everything. And then we ended up being able to travel everyone for our last 3 years. And it was like the best thing ever. Like it made such a difference. Like
we won the regular season that year.
Yeah, we won the regular season. No.
The following year.
Senior and fifth year. But like it was just so much. It brought us together so much more, I feel like, and it just felt like we were more connected as a team and we had like more voices on the away trips. So
no, definitely. And for somebody who didn't travel a lot, being injured, like seeing the girls who were able to play but not travel was heartbreaking. And you know, even being injured, like you're left alone, you don't know what to do. Like, you know, some, you know, programs are like, you can go out and have fun. Some are like, no, you can't, like you're a part of this team. And I feel like it's just like, it's hard. And you know, we just felt like also giving the injured girls an option to travel was something that we adapted later on down the road after that, which was awesome because like the girls didn't want to take the 10-hour drive to Maine, like didn't have to, but they could travel to like shorter ones, like 3, 4, 5 hours, things like that. So like adjusting it to as we went. But I think a good point to this story is like, yes, we were kind of, I think, more outspoken leaders in our career, but maybe somebody who doesn't feel as comfortable being like a big leader on the field with their voice, like can do little things like this to benefit their team. So they can, you know, come up with ideas or communicate with the coaches or communicate with the captains about like, I think this is something we need to change. And like that is a leader, somebody who leads a change to something better.
Definitely. I mean, we talked about this earlier, but like a leader can be anyone. Like it doesn't have to be like making these big changes, even just making someone smile that day is a leader. But yeah, I mean, looking back on our time, is there a time where you were like, or we said we're going to talk about positively and negatively impacted by leadership? Do you kind of want to go into that a bit, Tori?
Yes, Livy. I feel like we talked a lot about positive experiences already. So I can, you know, quickly talk about a negative experience. When I was going through my second ACL, so I tore it Halloween of 2021, and you know, I knew it right away. Like, you know it the second time. Anyways, got my MRI, went into my athletic trainer, and I had talked about my personal athletic trainer, but the head of the department was kind of in on my meeting. So like he ran all of athletics for, you know, rehab and stuff like that. So he was like, we were talking about things and he was like, yeah, you might as well redshirt. Like, this is bad. Like a revision surgery, which is when you have an ACL surgery on the same leg twice, you know, takes 12 months to recover. So you might as well redshirt. And I'm like, I'm not redshirting. Like I redshirted freshman year and COVID hit. Like this is going to be my senior year. Like my last time maybe playing with you, my best friends. Like I did not want to do that.
Like you were going to be playing till you're 40 if you keep redshirting.
No, exactly. And like, I'm not getting my doctorate. So
yeah, like how many times?
Yeah. Like, so it was just like, I did not want to do that. And he just like, you know, he was somebody in a really big leadership position that I looked up to and admired. And I really wanted them to instill confidence in me that I was going to be able to return to the field and play. And just kind of hearing that from somebody with who I looked up to and, you know, who held so much power over me, like they cleared me at the end of the day to play. So that was such a really hard experience to go through when somebody in leadership tells you like, no, it's not going to happen. Like when I haven't even had surgery yet. And so like when I went to my surgeon, you know, another kind of leadership position, because they are going to help me get back to the field, was like, do you want to come back? And I was like, yeah. He's like, then let's do it. Like, let's go. So I think, you know, vice versa, like, it, you know, it can turn around. But if I didn't have my surgeon say that, like, I don't know if I could have instilled that confidence in me. Like, I'm just an athlete, but like, or if I didn't go through it before, because I've been through an ACL. I know what it takes. I know I can do this. But if that was my first time and somebody said that to me, I don't know what I would have done. And so I think when you find yourself in leadership positions, be careful what you say to people. And that doesn't mean you can't make mistakes and you can't be imperfect. Like, even if he had said that to me and then, like, you know, a week had settled in and he was like, maybe I should tell Tori, like, she can do this, or she can try to do this, or like that I'm going to try my best to support her and guide
maybe
her.
just say, like, in my professional opinion, this might have to be the case, but not just like, no, this is it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was definitely a more negative experience, but also kind of, you know, showed me what I want out of a leader and what like not to do, and how I, you know, again, like I said, you're not going to say everything perfectly, but can you go back and like instill that confidence in somebody if you did say something wrong to them or something that maybe didn't make them feel really great in that moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to share a moment? I don't know if you've had any.
Yeah,
Been so perfect.
Yeah, I'm just like pretty awesome when it comes to this stuff. So
okay, Glinda. She is Glinda, guys. Oh my god. Everybody cover your ears.
Yeah, we saw Wicked today. It was so good. Okay, so yeah, honestly, yeah, I haven't had like, I guess, too many like negative experiences. Like we've been super lucky with coaches. No, we've been super lucky with teammates, parents. Like I've been super lucky with injury, honestly. But like I would just maybe talk about like some challenges. Like when I was a captain, there's just like 28 girls, and they all have very different opinions on what they want things to look like and what they want you to do. So I think kind of having to always like second guess myself, like, am I doing the best for the team if I'm asking for what one person wants specifically, I guess, and just like trying to relay messages to the coaches of like what everyone else wants, but them like disagreeing, but not being able to tell people directly.
Yeah.
And just like communication in itself is really hard. Like when you're super close with your team, which we were, which was amazing and a blessing, but if there's an issue, like it's not always easy to be like, you can't be doing that, or we need to have this discussion. And it's like, you don't want to tell like one of your best friends that they need to stop doing something because they're gonna, you know, it's hard to, I guess, balance those relationships because you don't want people to think like, oh, you're power hungry, you're just doing what the coaches say all the time. But you also like know some things are for like the betterment of the team. But you have to like have those hard conversations and do those hard things, I guess.
Yeah, no, that had to be super challenging. I remember I would be like, go ahead, girl, you deal with that. Like, I'm gonna stay in my lane.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed really hard. And I feel like I sometimes had to like counteract you and try to like support the girls that you might have to like talk to, or kind of just be like, hey, it's all a joke, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And you sometimes had to do more of the serious things, so that can be challenging. But I feel like for girls listening, we haven't really talked about, or anybody listening, I feel like we haven't talked about like any advice to future leaders, or like anything you would tell like somebody who's like, I really want to be a team captain at any phase, or somebody that's like, I really want to start leading by example more. Like what advice would you tell them?
Yeah.
Coming from an amazing leader herself.
Thank you very much. Honestly, just I feel like it's super important to want to be a leader. So don't just do it just because you want the clout. Like trust me, like, yeah, it's fun, it's awesome. Like love the armband, even though sometimes I would just forget to wear it. But like it's just, if you want to do it, then you're gonna be amazing at it. It's like with anything. Like in college, like, we took so many classes. The ones we loved, like we killed. Great job. But the ones that like I could care less about, like anthropology, like we were just like, you're just gonna struggle at it, right? So I think the same thing goes to leadership. Like don't do it for the right reasons, I guess. And then also just like I said, you're always gonna want to put the team first. So, you know, like if you're playing, if you're not playing, if you don't want to be there that day, or you don't want to do this, or you don't want to confront the coaches about a problem, like you have to, right? Like that's your role as a leader. So I think not being afraid to have the hard conversations with leadership, like make sure that you're okay with having a conversation with someone in power, because so much of it comes down to that. And just go for it and trust your gut. Like, and like I said, also be accountable for things, right? Like there's a lot of times that I did things that I don't think were right, but I think owning up to that, being ready to learn from your mistakes, and also taking advice from people. Like if you're a senior and a freshman, you see something, like, you can take advice from them. Like, just be super open to wanting to grow in that position, is what I would say.
Yeah. No,
some
I think
advice.
that's some really great advice. I actually, weirdly,
Thanks.
because you're usually annoying. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thank you so much. But going from, like, yeah, being injured and just, I mean, you were a captain in high school and
Yeah.
obviously a big leader in college. Do you have, like, advice of what kind of not to do or what to do or kind of all of it?
I feel like you had some really good advice.
Yeah.
I feel like coming from somebody that's not, like, that wasn't a captain in college, but I was in high school, but with 3 other people, so I was never kind of that sole leader. But I feel like you do not need the captain armband to be a leader. And I think so many of, like, our culture, like, in the soccer world, or even in life, like, an administrator, like, they're the leader.
This definitely applies to being a leader, applies to every single field.
No, exactly.
Even just being a sibling, a teammate, a friend,
a child.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, but I feel like you don't need a title to be a leader. Like, I feel like so, like, many of the time, like, even in my experience, like, some people are like, Tori, why aren't you running for captain? Like, you could be a captain, or you, like, and it's just like, maybe I did want to at times. You kind of have that as you get older, but, like, after a little bit, I was just like, I don't need this to be the leader that I am. And I also had some, struggles with my communication on the field, like, little bit angry.
Little? Ma'am.
Just so, like, it's kind of hard to give somebody that armband who, like, can sometimes snap or, like, say things, like, in the moment that they don't mean. But, like, that doesn't mean I wasn't a leader. Like, you can lead, again, the underclassmen. Like, I felt like I led some of the injured girls sometimes. And you can just lead by having a kind heart and by demonstrating what it looks like to be a good teammate and demonstrating what it looks like to help out and to, be true to yourself. Like, communicate with the coaches, communicate with your teammates, and, just show your other teammates or people around you that, like, you can do hard things and you can get through hard days. And just, I guess, wearing, like, your heart on your sleeve is really important. But just a reminder to everybody that's not a captain or who tried out for captain and didn't get it, like, don't be discouraged. Like, you can still lead in so many different aspects. Like, you can just be, like, if you have a very cheerful personality, like, tap into that. Like, be a huge supporter. Like, compliment people on the little things. Like, I remember my senior year or 5th year, like, I wasn't, like, super, like, happy with my performance per se, but I felt like I always gave 100%. And when I would come off the field, there would be a few girls on the bench who would just be like, Tori, like, your, like, work ethic is amazing. Like, you crush it out there. Even if I didn't connect a pass, they were just proud of me for working as hard as I did and giving it my all. And, like, I will cherish those moments forever. And, like, they maybe didn't think of themselves as leaders in those moments, but they led me in a different way than you or another captain on the field led me, Yeah,
I definitely think a lot of the girls on our team in college who, like, weren't playing and stuff, like, helped so much. Like, just like you said, just cheering for us on the side and, like, pushing us every single day in practice. Like, that's being a leader. Like, we could not have been as successful as we were if we didn't have the team that we had, if we didn't have the coaches that we had. So,
and I feel like more people, like, would feel better about themselves if they named it. If they just said, like, I am a leader. Like, if they told themselves, I am a leader, like, that can feel so empowering and so good. Like, again, you don't need to have the captain armband, but you can wake up in the morning and be like, I am a leader on this team. And I just feel like we don't name it enough. Like, we don't call the leaders on our teams leaders. We call the captains leaders.
Yeah.
And I feel like a good, example, like you said, some of our teammates, like, when we were freshmen, a senior on the team was a captain, and one of the freshmen, like, kind of taking her spot a few games in and playing over her. But, like, that did not stop her in the slightest of being such an amazing captain and leader. Like, she cheered for everybody when she got in the game. She gave 100%. She always worked so hard, showed up on time, was respectful, checked in on everybody. And I feel like so many seniors in that instance might have kind of shut down and been sad and not communicated well. And I feel like she was such a good example of that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we were super lucky with that. For sure.
Yeah, and I feel like, we just had all different types of leaders, like when we were freshmen, the seniors, just like you had the goofy ones and the serious ones, and had a good array of like, this is what it looks like to be a part of a team. Not everybody is the same. Not everybody's going to have the same qualities or personality traits or things like that.
Yeah. So looking back, like when negative things have happened to us, like if a coach said something or a teammate or just even in life, like what would you have advice? What would your advice be to someone who's going through that? Like, do you respond? What do you do? I guess.
That's hard because I feel like I've handled it so poorly in some situations.
For sure.
And I've also maybe handled it with poise and grace at other times, but I
don't think you and Grace go in the same sentence, babe.
I'm so graceful. I'm defying gravity. Anyways, I feel like it's really important to just know that, like, if you were doing your best in that situation, then, like, it's gonna be okay. And if you were staying true to you, because I feel like in situations sometimes when I was confronted by leadership in a negative way, I kind of questioned myself. And I was like, am I, like, a shitty person?
Is it all
or,
in my
like,
head?
am I the problem? And in some cases, I was the problem.
Hi,
I'm the problem, it's me. Shout out T-Swift. Anyways, I feel like so many times, like, again, I'm not saying I was never in the wrong, because I definitely was at times, but I still could have reminded myself that I was still a good person and a good teammate, and I was true to myself. Because sometimes I feel like I second guess, like, do I deserve to be on this team? Do I deserve to, like, do certain things? Or, like, I don't know. And I feel like take the criticism and, be responsive to leadership in a good way, like, make eye contact, nod, appreciate them, but don't question who you are, and don't question your integrity and the things that you want out of yourself and your teammates and the leader you want to be. Like, you don't have to question that, but yes, you can make changes to your, communication style or to the way you hold yourself, but, like, you don't need to question who you are. You should stay true to that.
And I feel like our dad gave us some really good advice with dealing with negative just interactions in general.
I know what you're going to say. I know it. I know what she's going to say.
Keep your hands down, please. No, so, like, if whatever, your coach said something, your teammate said something, your sibling, whatever, said something that you didn't like, did something you didn't like, did something you didn't agree with, whatever. Get your phone out, type a message, basically how you would respond, like if you wanted to say something back, and then wait 24 hours. And if you still feel like you want to send that message, then send that message. Because a lot of the times, like, we would respond right in the heat of the moment and be like, go yourself. And it's like, no, like, if that's really how you feel in that moment, then fine. Get it written down on paper, get it written down in a text, and then move forward from there and see if that's what you really want to do. And then if you do, go ahead. Then that's really what you were meant to say, and that's how you want to say it. Then okay, but now you're taking the emotion out of it. Is that still a logical response to say?
Yeah, and I think it's so important to do that, because so many of the times I wrote that, and then 24 hours later I was like,
I don't care.
I'm like, it's not that sending deep. That. Yeah. Like, not even close. But the times I did quickly send things, I most likely regretted them. At least the way I said it, definitely, like over text specifically.
Yeah, that's also important. It's like sometimes you do want to send the message, but you want to change the word.
Exactly.
Which is totally fine, but it's like being a leader, not just being a person in general, like responding to things, like that's just been some of the best advice. And I feel like once we actually started using that, like our interactions with leadership got a lot better. But yeah, I mean, I think just also like going off of leadership is just putting yourself in other shoes. So in other people's shoes. So like as a captain stuff, sometimes my coach would say things like, how does the team feel about this? And I'd be like, well, I start and play 90 minutes every single game. I feel a certain way about it. I cannot speak and tell you how people feel who haven't played a single minute the same season. And, and I feel like my coach resonated with that well and was just like, I like how you do that. But I'm like, it's true. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, everyone's so happy and loves this. And like, no, like right. My emotions are so vastly different from someone who's injured, someone who's not playing, someone who's going through mental health struggles. Like, I feel like it's also just not speaking for everyone and just knowing that everyone's at a different point.
Yeah, definitely. I almost said I'm speaking.
Yeah, just like that, I guess.
No, I think
is really important.
No, I
to
definitely
to
think that's
say.
so important. Like, if somebody asks you, like, as a leader, like, how's the team feeling? Because, like, even my coach, even though I wasn't a captain, would be like, how's the team feeling today? Or, like, how's the team doing? And just being like, I can't speak for the team. Like,
I am like the
yeah, and
like,
you can get a vibe.
like
And
I'm technically like the speaker for the team,
Yeah.
but like there's 28 people, and I feel like
Yeah.
this goes a lot into the real world as well. Like,
right,
co-working, friendships, like everything goes up and down. Like
family,
yeah,
yeah.
like sometimes you're reaching out to people, sometimes they're reaching out to you, sometimes you feel like 90%, 10%, that type of thing. And I just feel like it's so different in the aspects of being like a true leader is one, trying to see like where people are at and trying to meet them there and making sure like what can I do to get them to 100, but also like just owning the fact that you don't know everything. Like don't assume that you know best, I guess, all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part of being a leader is asking multiple people in the setting of how they're doing. Like, again, the injured players were going to feel different than the people playing 90 versus the people who got in a few minutes, who didn't get in at all, things like that. So go around and check in with other people. Like, don't just ask the captain things because, yeah, they can gauge things, they can ask, but it also feels good when your coach goes up to you and says, like, how is your house doing? How's your class doing? How's the team? And they, just engage more with others and engage more in like different groups. Like, you don't have to always go to like the captain or like, the source, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's just important to acknowledge that every day looks different for everyone. But being a leader, I think it's important to just check in, like we said, even if you're a quiet person, like making sure the person next to you that day is doing all right.
Yeah.
And how can you help that person? Like, and sometimes you just don't want to do it. Like some days you're like, not today, ma'am, and you don't want to be a leader. And that's fine, but just like looking out for one another in a way where even if you're not feeling your best and you don't want to be loud or vocal, like just still having each other's back, I guess, is super important.
Yeah, and I feel like we've made plenty of mistakes as leaders throughout our day. I mean, we one time had this like huge team meeting at like 4 a.m. And like, yes, it needed to be done.
Shout out.
And
Everyone's
I think
gonna love that.
I know everybody's gonna be like, and I feel like we all kind of have a mutual agreement that like it did work to some extent, to some degree. They may not agree like to the force that we did, but we said things like that were not very kind in some ways, but we felt like our team kind of needed a firm kind of like wake up call. But the way we handled it was not perfect by any means and created a pretty big divide for the next week. And then I feel like we started to grow together and we did like kind of team therapy and things like that. But like as leaders, were some of the things we said appropriate? No. Like, but I don't think any of our teammates are going to look back on our careers as leaders and be like, they're bad leaders because of that one moment. Are they going to have criticism for that moment? Absolutely. Are they going to continue to clown us for that moment? Absolutely. But I think they're not going to hold that one moment over our heads and be like, you guys were terrible leaders. You didn't lead this team. Like, they're going to look at it as a moment in time and as something that we chose to do that they didn't agree with. But they're going to look at all the other moments where we were leaders in our lives, checking in on them, calling them, picking them up, and things like that. And I feel like as a leader, don't feel like you have to do everything perfect and don't feel like people are going to hold one thing you do over your head forever.
Yeah. It's also just, again, being accountable. Like, yeah, it wasn't the best at all, but like, look where we got from it. Right. So it's like, but just even the little things, like if someone is upset about something you said, like go talk to them about it and don't be like, well, I'm a captain.
Perfect,
I get to say what I want to say. Like, no, that's not how life works. But I feel like when we had the most success, even if we didn't have the most talent in college and high school, it was because like we had the right people in place for leadership everywhere on the team. Like it wasn't just like the captains and stuff, but everyone on the team like really did want the best for everyone else, and that's when we had the most success, I think.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I feel like knowing kind of their rules of leadership were really important. But I feel like we've, overall had some really great leaders in our life and just had really good experiences with leadership. Do you have any like closing remarks on things? Because you've had, a lot more, I think, experience with leadership than I have. But
well, I just think like if anyone has any questions, like social media, DM us or whatever, and we can talk about it on the next episode and stuff. But closing remarks, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just, again, like, if you love it, then you're going to succeed. Like, I loved it so much. Like, if anyone asks, like, what was your favorite part? I was like, being a captain. Like, just helping out people coming to me and, like, me being able to help them, people looking up to me and things like that. So I think if that's something you want to do, just love everyone, treat everyone equally, but always put yourself in someone else's shoes. Don't speak for other people, and just be comfortable, like, in the uncomfortable. So having those hard conversations and just having the best interest of everyone else at heart is what's going to be the best.
Yeah. And I think it's okay if you don't know. Ask.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do something or say something as a leader, ask. Ask, your teammates or, the people you supervise or your family, what do you need from me right now? Where do you want to go with this?
Mm-hmm.
How can I help you? How can I speak for you when you can't speak for yourself right now? Asking those questions is so important as a leader. Like, you don't need to know all the answers.
Don't assume.
You know what assuming does. I know y'all do.
Yep.
So I think those are really important qualities, but yeah, leadership is so important in all aspects of your life. And if you never want to be a leader, then, know the qualities of a leader you want in your life and seek out those leaders to follow.
Definitely.
But yeah, it was really good chatting again, everyone. We will see you next week, for our 3rd episode of Recently Retired, which is going to be on, drum roll, burnout.
Yeah, burnout. Just burnout and mental health stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, follow us, Recently.Retired on IG. And
yes, like, comment, DM, whatever you want.
Bye.